Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Rieker, and I am a field specialist with Ohio State University Extension, specializing in farm management. I was asked to give a few comments on the economic considerations related to replanting corn and soybeans on any given year. This video is being recorded in 2026, and in Ohio, of course, our planting conditions vary greatly throughout the state. In the south, we had a lot of corn and soybeans planted. Farmers were finished early, and all the way in the north, there's folks that are just getting started in the third week of May and probably going to be continuing past the Memorial Day weekend. But a couple of economic considerations related to the replant decision that I'd ask you to think about on your farm as you go to make those replanting decisions. First of all, you need to evaluate what is the yield potential of the crop that is still left standing in the field. Okay, so and how might that compare with what you will replant and how that replanted crop will emerge. And so if it's very easy if there was a drowned out spot, and we know there were drowned out spots throughout Ohio. If there was zero population left, obviously when the field conditions are right for corn or soybeans, you should go and replant locations that have a zero population after a heavy rainfall event. I think it becomes a little bit more difficult. It certainly becomes more difficult when you think about a reduced stand, okay? And if a stand is consistently reduced, our data suggests, or the literature suggests here in the Corn Belt, that if your corn that is planted in late April, let's say you're planting at 25 or 28,000 seeds in late April, versus something that's planted at 32 or 35,000 seeds in mid to late May, those will yield very, very similar based on what the literature review says for corn. But if you plant in late April, and you only have half a stand, let's say it's 10 or 15,000 seeds per acre, 10 or 15,000 plants per acre. In many cases, the literature says that crop that has a consistent stand of 15,000 seeds per acre will still yield really close to 80 to 85, maybe even 90% of optimum yield value for our state. And so that's pretty substantial. That crop perhaps has a 2 or 3 or 4 leaf vegetative stage advantage than what you might replant. I think for me, for you on your farm, it's about evaluating the population and the distribution of that population. Is it consistent, or are there large spaces, large gaps, or even perhaps a zero? So that's one factor on the economic consideration. Which will yield better? The yield of a reduced stand that is already existing in my field and perhaps a few stages ahead, or will a replanted crop yield more? That's the revenue side of the equation. The cost side of the equation, we all know that replanting costs money, okay? And predominantly that comes in seed, the biggest replant expense, and then wear and tear, fuel and labor related with your equipment replant, the physical act of replanting. And then finally, on the corn side of things, is the additional drying expense associated with most likely a higher percent moisture at harvest. And so, those are lots of considerations. The one thing that I talked about on the video a year ago, and I think it's important to bring to light again, is that if you have multi-peril crop insurance, a yield protection policy or revenue protection policy, for corn, you are paid 8 bushels per acre times the February price. This year, that was 8 bushels times 462. Approximately $37 an acre is what your multi-peril crop insurance policy will pay. Soybeans will pay 3 bushels times the February price. This year, just over $11. So it's going to be really close to $33 to replant an acre of soybeans. As we talk about crop insurance, it's very important that you consult with your crop insurance agent before you make the decision to replant. Make sure they're informed at every step of the way. So let's take that $37 that you may get to replant corn. Many would say that that's a premium custom rate for planting. In Ohio, our custom rates for planting corn are somewhere between $16 and $33, or really close to a $25 average. $37 pays you a premium to replant that and use your fuel, time, effort, and equipment, but you still have to cover the cost of seed, a decision that you need to have with your seedsman. Some seed companies will cover all, part, or perhaps maybe even none of the cost of replant seed. So seed is still a big ticket. The insurance policy covers the replant. And then finally, there's the additional drying charge. If we assume that late planted or replanted corn will come out of the field at 5 percentage points higher than earlier planted corn, and we charge ourselves, or the elevator will charge us 5 cents per point of moisture, so that's about a quarter, 25 cents on a 200 bushel corn crop. That's an additional $50 more in drying charges that we may experience relative to an earlier planted crop. Sometimes that drying expense is the expense that we don't think much about when we go to replant. It's often the seed cost, and then the kind of the custom rate to replant that's often offset by our multi-peril crop insurance policy. I don't have all the answers on economics related to replanting corn and soybeans. Here in Ohio, Drs. Ortez and Lindsay are working really hard at making some of those informed yield decisions related to corn and soybeans and the replant decisions being made. Stay tuned for more information related to both yield and economics on this project. Good luck with the rest of your year.